to this latest webinar from the Open Group. We've had a little bit of break over the summer period, but this is the first one back. Future schedule of events which we hope to be delivering to you between now and the end of the year. Today's event is being brought to us by Biz Design, which is a very active member of the Open Group, and our speaker today is Leanne Bodestaff of Biz Design. Before I hand over to Leanne, I'd just like to go over a few housekeeping rules to keep the moving forward smoothly. Firstly, we would encourage you to submit questions. It's a really good opportunity to do so. The best way to submit a question to today's speaker will be use the text QA facility. If you do write a question in that text facility, please can I ask you to address it to all or all participants, that way everyone gets to see the questions that are being submitted. If you'd like to share a comment or have a discussion with a fellow attendee, then the best facility would be to use the text chat facility. Leanne will try and answer as many questions today at the end of her presentation, but as usual, we're more than happy to take questions offline if we do run out of time. This event is also being fully recorded, so if for any reason you have to leave the event today early or experience any local technical difficulties, and I'm sorry, but sometimes we do have some audio problems, the full recording of today's event will be available tomorrow, and everyone who's registered will get an email with a link to where to access that recording. So if you're ready, can I start your presentation?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you very much for the introduction, Simon. Of course, I would like to welcome everybody to this webinar today. We're going to talk about strategic enterprise portfolio management. And, we as Biz Design do this with ArchiMate, and we base our approach actually on our enterprise architecture models. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talk to you about it. I have a lot to talk to you about. There'll be a lot of, I'm sorry, I see it's a bit too quiet. I will try to speak up a bit. We have a lot of content to cover, so I will provide to you also the slides. There will be a copy on our website of Biz Design, which you can download afterwards, so you can look it back. And as Simon already mentioned, the Open Group itself on the website will also provide a recording where you can watch it back or download it. At the end of the presentation, I will also provide you with some URLs for some additional content, and also for the for where you can find a copy of the presentation that I'm giving today. So today I will start with an introduction about myself, but also about Biz Design, the company. And after that, I will explain to you some basics on the enterprise architecture and how you actually do this with ArchiMate. We need this for our enterprise portfolio management. After that, I will explain to you about enterprise portfolio management, of course, in more detail. And I will not only talk about portfolio management itself, but also how it relates to other disciplines, like the strategy, as I mentioned already, your architecture, but also to your project portfolio management. And I especially want to emphasize that we want to offer an integrated solution. Actually, all these disciplines go hand in hand. And so show this to you with a live demo of our tool demonstration. Let me first talk a bit about myself. I'm Leanne Bodestaff, and I'm a research consultant at Biz Design, which means that I work with organizations as a consultant, but I mainly do research within our organization to bring the products we have and the methods we offer one step further. Personally, I'm mainly focused on enterprise architectures, especially doing this with ArchiMate. And as we see, is that it is getting for our customers more and more important to manage the large landscapes they have. And for this, we're now developing our enterprise portfolio management approach, and that is at the moment my main focus of research. You can always reach me for further questions on my email address. I would be more than happy to answer any questions or help you with any additional contacts if you need them. So let's talk a bit more about Biz Design itself. We're a company that is actually specialized in offering an integrated service. This means that we don't only sell you tools, but we also offer you consulting services around this, training to actually help you operate the tools that you have, and we do this with best practices. And we actually offer our services in several domains, and enterprise architecture management is one of those domains. And today's topic, I think, fits also best in that area. We are also very active in the domains of, for example, business modeling, business process management, and also for business rules management. So we are, as BDesign, located in the Netherlands. That is where our main office is, but we have offices all over the world. We have several in Europe, as you can see, and also in Northern America we're very active. Those places where we don't have offices of our own, we always work with partners. So, for example, in Latin America, Mexico, Australia and Portugal, we have partners located. So actually there's an office close by where you can contact us and talk to us a bit more. Our partners are, because of that, also pretty much all over the world. So I talk to you a little bit about myself and about the organization I work for. I will give you a short introduction on enterprise architecture, especially on ArchiMate, an emphasis there because we will need the ArchiMate language later on. And after that, I will talk to you a bit more about the portfolio management part. So when we talk about enterprise architecture, what do we actually mean? Well, there are many people that have said many things about what enterprise architecture is, and I don't think we need to redefine the terms here. But at least enterprise architecture is discipline. The emphasis of it is that it should help you with getting from the place where you are at the moment, from your as-is situation to your to-be, to your target state. And it does that with models, and it should help you define your roadmap on how to get actually from your baseline to your target state. There are two ways in which your architecture helps you with that. So first of all, you can look at it as your architecture as a product, in which you, ArchiMate as a language can use that to make models and make the design, and which shows actually the coherence between your approach you have in your organization, the processes you have, the information you're having, how this is related to your architecture. And this is how you can use, for example, ArchiMate as a modeling language. But having models alone is never enough. You need a process, a way of working actually on how to actually make these models and how to get through this whole stepwise process. And there, TOGAF is a great way to help you get through this process. And actually, therefore, ArchiMate and TOGAF are a great combination to actually do your enterprise architecture. So, if you look a bit closer at it, TOGAF and ArchiMate are both open standards from the open group. They're strongly related, and they actually, it allows you to make the models with a modeling language, and TOGAF actually allows you to use the process, and it describes the viewpoints and also the techniques and reference models. So the two actually meet in the middle, since they both emphasize the importance of points, and these viewpoints are actually a key mechanism for communication with your stakeholders. And we actually see that the combination of the two works really well actually in practice, and we use a lot with our customers, and we use there then ArchiMate as the modeling language and TOGAF as the process, and we use both of them together actually. So let's talk a little bit more about ArchiMate. I will, for the rest of this presentation, not go deeper into TOGAF, since we actually don't need that specifically at the moment for our portfolio management approach. Just talk to you a bit more about the concepts in ArchiMate and what you can actually do with it. So, actually a language for describing your enterprises, and it actually covers different layers of your organization. You can model the business aspects of your organization, the application aspects of your organization, but also the technology, so the infrastructure, for example, you can describe using ArchiMate. What is really important here is that ArchiMate allows you to make also the relation between those layers, which is actually which makes it possible to do several analyses across the layers. So, for example, it allows you to analyze what happens if a certain element in your technology layer is failing. What does that mean for the business layer? So, aside from these three layers, the business, the application, and the technology, there are also several extensions possible for ArchiMate. For example, the motivation extension, which allows you to model something about what the goals of your organization are, where you want to go. Has these goals within your organization. We'll be using those later on. Extension is the migration and implementation extension, where you can actually say something about how you are going to accomplish a certain transformation, a certain business transformation. For example, which projects you want to execute, which architectural plateau you actually want to reach, etc., etc. So this is actually an open standard, and this is maintained by the open group. And well, if you want to see and learn more about it, you can definitely go to the open group website, and there's really lots of information about ArchiMate and ArchiMate language on there available for you. So to you about ArchiMate, and actually it is a basis to do some high-level modeling within domains. So actually not meant to model in very much detail your business process. It is meant to model the business processes you have, how they are related to other processes, and also to other domains. If you want to really go into the details of a certain business process, there are other specific languages available for you, like BPMN, where you can really specify in the details with a dedicated language the process model you have. The other great thing about ArchiMate is that it allows you to model the relationships between the domains. I already mentioned to you that very shortly. You can, for example, give the relation from a business process model, how this looks like, how this relates to your infrastructural level, and how this relates to your applications, how this relates to your servers. And it's especially this relationship that ArchiMate allows you to make, which is the addition that you need to, for example, if you have your processes modeled in a BPMN model, for example, it's very important to be able to relate those also to your application layer. And the more dedicated languages can provide you with that. So you need a bit the more high-level modeling language like ArchiMate to get a really good overview of your enterprise. So once you have these great models, these high-level models, but also the relationships between those models, then actually you can do many visualizations. And this is the viewpoint that I talked to you about before. ArchiMate allows you to make with one model several viewpoints that allow you to communicate with stakeholders at the level that you need to talk to them about. Have different representations, different focuses, and actually the viewpoints and the visualizations you have make it very well presentable to the different stakeholders in your organization. And aside from that, also are a basis to do analysis. So you can do some quantitative analysis or some qualitative analysis. So especially doing some what-if scenarios are really important. So for example, what happens if I'm decommissioning a certain application? What is the impact of that for the rest of my architecture, for the rest of my organization? But if you add something to your architecture, you can do some quantitative analysis, for example, on what the costs level will be, through your organization. So you can use the detailed design models and relate them to each other. So I want to show you a little bit about the concepts that you use in ArchiMate. These are not all concepts that the core of ArchiMate offers you, but these are the ones that are most frequently used, I guess, and that most people have encountered. You see also the ArchiMate framework. So you see on top the business layer, in the middle application layer, and on the bottom the technology layer. And you see that you can nicely connect and relate the different layers with each other, and that you are able to, for example, model application components, but also the functions that are related to that, the business process they support, and the infrastructure they need to function. So this is actually what we call the ArchiMate core. I'll talk to you shortly about the extensions of ArchiMate. So one of these extensions is the motivation extension. What you see in the right, in the purple and the pink, and it allows you to model why you are actually doing certain things in your enterprise. So you can relate this, as we will see later on, really well to the strategy you have as an organization. So you can model the goals you have as an organization, what drives you as an organization. You can show which stakeholder is actually strongly related to these goals. You can also make your goals more tangible and really specialize them into make relation to the requirements that you need to have fulfilled in order to reach the goals that you have set. And the elements from the motivation extension you can relate to the ArchiMate core concepts. So you can, for example, model what it means to fulfill a certain requirement, what that means for your enterprise architecture. As we will see later on, this is a very important combination to show actually the relation between your strategy and your enterprise architecture. An extension of ArchiMate is the implementation and migration extension, which you now see here in the bottom. This is another extension that we will also use in the demonstration model later on. As I told you before, it allows you to model the work packages you want to define, the plateau you're trying to realize in your architecture, the deliverables that there will be, and the gaps you have at the moment between the plateaus. So you can also here relate, for example, the approach you have with the impact it has on your architecture. And as we will see later on, this is a very useful combination to, for example, relate the field of project portfolio management to your enterprise architecture. So I just talked to you about enterprise architecture, what it actually is, what you can do with it. Talk to you about ArchiMate in more detail, because this is the modeling language that we will use later on in our approach. I think now we have set the basis to actually start the core of this presentation to talk a bit more about enterprise portfolio management. So I actually would like to start with a take-home message, just that you can see already what you can expect in the coming hour. So we really believe that enterprise portfolio management is the next step in making your architecture actionable. And I will later on talk a bit more about what that means, actionable architectures. And to actually realize this, you will need an integrated approach. It's nice to state the first bullet, but to actually realize this is a completely different thing. And you need tool support to actually get here. In addition, to communicate with key stakeholders, you will need dashboards. And we will also show you some of these dashboards. And I will also explain to you in this presentation why I'm emphasizing the need for these dashboards, especially in this context. So I just talked to you about making your architecture actionable. So what does that actually mean? So what we see is that a lot of architectural departments struggle to show what now actually value is of all these architecture models they have created over the years. And that's, well, there is a lot of information and a lot of value in these models, but to actually show this to stakeholders like the CIO, like the CFO, is simply not this easy. And if you have enterprise architecture of a certain maturity, then you are actually ready for the next step. You are ready to take a step to make your architecture more actionable. And more actionable means that you are actually starting to use these models to design your business transformations. You start to go away from just making models towards using these models in making advices, making decisions, and managing these decisions. Answer with a good enterprise architecture questions like, how can I actually use this to make certain investment decisions, to make management decisions? But if you have created a large landscape and you are a large organization and you have hundreds of applications or projects or servers or business processes, how do I actually gain control of these large landscapes that I have? And am I going to manage those? And yeah, in the end, the CIO wants to get some results from all these large architectural models that are made over the last decades. So am I going to move away from just modeling architectures towards designing the changes in my organization? And this is definitely where enterprise portfolio comes in. So with enterprise architecture, you have already a great basis. You have already modeled what your as-is situation is. You have already modeled the two situations, the target situations. Where do you want to go? And ideally, you have already defined several roadmaps to actually realize this business transformation. You've shown in there what that means for your architecture, what that means for your enterprise. But now you need something more to actually manage this all. And that's actually where enterprise portfolio management comes in. It simply allows you to strengthen the proposition of your enterprise architecture, and it allows you to do much more quantitative analysis of this as-is situation and of this to-be situation. It allows you to define metrics on, for example, calculating the costs of a certain roadmap. It helps you to define metrics on estimating what the risks will be of executing a certain project, but also what the benefits might be of implementing a new application. So in the end, it will allow you to create an overview of these large enterprise landscapes, and this is actually what it will help for. What the architect should realize is that the models that they are providing to do this enterprise portfolio management are really vital. All the relations that are present in that architecture, all the connections they've made between the layers are really essential to have a good enterprise portfolio management implemented in your organization. And in the end, the overviews and the analysis allow you to make better and informed decision making on prioritization of, for example, investment plans you have, of roadmaps you have. And this actually helps your managers to make decisions within your organization. And if you manage to implement this at a good level, then I guess it will be very valuable. I guess you by now already got the feeling that enterprise portfolio management is not a standalone process. Enterprise portfolio management is connected to several other disciplines. It relates the disciplines, but it also uses the results of different disciplines. So what we actually often encounter with customers is that defining a strategy, so the strategy development, actually they manage really well. Often an organization knows pretty well where they want to go, how they want to accomplish that. But it is sometimes pretty difficult to actually execute this, to communicate well to the different departments on how this strategy should be realized. So executing the strategy you have is not that straightforward and not always that easy. And the gap between the development of that strategy and actually executing is, you should not underestimate it. So we'll not really dive into capability-based planning, but capability-based planning is definitely a way to help translate your strategy into a more concrete plan, which actually will help the different departments within your organization to execute strategy that you have planned. When we drill down a bit further, your enterprise architecture will help you to close the remainder of the gap between strategy development and execution, and it will also ensure the alignment between the different departments, between the different domains, especially because all the relationship between the different domains are present in your architecture. And enterprise portfolio management helps you actually to count the different information silos there are, and it allows you to manage the large enterprise landscapes that you have. And the combination of these different disciplines, your strategy, the capability-based planning, the enterprise architecture, and the enterprise portfolio management, this combination is really, really powerful. So back to the architecture part. This is what we often see hanging at the walls with organizations where we are. This is actually, if you are wondering, a part actually of a real architectural model in the aerial sector. And this model is already a simplified version, and it is only a part of that model. So it's clear that a lot of effort has been spent in here, a lot of relations are present here, and it is a great basis, but pretty difficult actually from this complex and large and entangled landscape to really get some information out of that. So what are in this picture the superfluous processes, the superfluous applications? Can we do some analysis that is coherent on this complete landscape? That is really difficult. So, and if you cannot do the analysis, how are you going to make the decisions? Which applications are we going to decommission? Which products are we going to focus on? So, how am I going to decide what the to-be situation should be actually? Making a target architect is not that easy in this case. And how then, if I don't know actually how to model the target situation, how do I then model the roadmap? And a consequence of this is that well, it's often the result that the decisions are simply based on money. So this is what it often comes down to in organizations. If you don't know anymore what to manage for, then you simply are going to manage for reducing costs. So the most expensive applications are thrown out without regarding what they actually do for the organization, what the implication is for the business processes, what the implication is for the products you're delivering. And this is actually very dangerous. And I think it is also unnecessary. Because if you add the portfolio management approach to your enterprise architecture, you are actually able to get a grip on this large landscapes you have, and that you actually also have a chance to relate again the different layers with each other. So what is now actually portfolio management? Well, it allows you to get a holistic view of the landscape instead of losing you in the details. So if you think I cannot see the wood for the trees anymore, then it's time to start with a portfolio management approach. The idea is that you group things that are of the same type based on some criterion, and you're going to try to manage this set of things as a whole. I have an example of applications. So you could, for example, consider grouping all back office applications into one portfolio and manage them against the same criteria. This portfolio management is about, and this actually allows you to manage the large and complex landscapes you have and to gain back that enterprise-wide overview that you need. It allows you to analyze the different portfolios, to compare them with each other, and in the end you can then finally start managing your enterprise based on the value it has and not only on the costs. And this is actually what should be the core of the decision making later on. What value to your organization instead of what is it costing my organization? So it's the enterprise in enterprise portfolio management. So look at a nice quote from Gartner that I actually like. They say, the biggest challenge at the moment is that it is integrating these individual portfolios. So you have a project portfolio, you have an asset portfolio, you have an IT services portfolio. but actually not what you want. You want to present a holistic story that shows the true state of your portfolio, not only in itself, but also in relation to the other portfolios. And this is exactly what your enterprise portfolio management approach should do. It allows you to manage the complete enterprise landscape in portfolios that be separated, but anyway related. And this way you define and you manage your portfolios in a holistic manner. So you base the definition of your portfolios on the same underlying principles, which makes it possible to have consistent models that make that possible to do some informed decision making on all the different levels you're having. So that we often get how is this enterprise portfolio management approach now related to program portfolio management or project portfolio management or to asset portfolio management? What is actually this relation? And well, the answer is actually that these are all part of your, or should all be part of your enterprise portfolio management approach. They should all be part of this. So to give an example why they are related, your project portfolios allow you to manage and monitor the project portfolios you have, and allows you to manage changes through the roadmaps you're having. But the effect of executing several programs and projects is that your architecture changes. There might be some assets added to the different portfolios, might be new applications as a result of these projects. And these assets in turn are again managed in different portfolios, in process portfolios, in product portfolios, in your infrastructure portfolios. And these should all be related and they should talk to each other. Well, the people managing these different portfolios should talk to each other. And this is how it all comes together, and this is how your enterprise portfolio management approach should be related to each other. And this is exactly what BizDesign's vision is. We see integrated and holistic management solution, which is enterprise architecture based. This is for us really important. The enterprise architectural models give you the information you need to actually relate these different portfolios. Saying that you want to relate them is one, actually relating them gives you a necessity to have proper models. So this is where your architecture comes in and is really important. So with this holistic management solution, we're actually really tightly managing the different asset portfolios you have, the different project portfolios you have against your strategic planning. And the part that I will later on also show. And in the end, we ensure a consistent view over your portfolios. And we can ensure this consistency because we base it on our enterprise architectural models. And because you have this consistent related views, you can actually analyze the interdependencies between different portfolios, the impact certain changes in one portfolio have on the other portfolio, gaps there are, and it helps you to prevent some information silos. That is, if you are the data manager, that you only know what is going on in your data environment, that you don't know what the effect of that is on your processes, and that's what we want to prevent. We want to relate the different disciplines through relating the different portfolios. And then we allow defining more generic and reusable measures. For example, if you calculate what the total cost of ownership is for a certain solution and you want to compare these different solutions, then you actually need to make sure that you're using the same metrics when you are comparing them actually. And this is also where the modeling part comes in again. As I will show you later on, we're modeling the metrics in our architecture, which allows you actually to make them generic and reusable. And then you can do some generic resource planning with this over the different types of portfolios. So for example, if you have resources that need to be, like for example costs, that need to be shared between an application portfolio and a process portfolio, then this generic metrics allow you to do also generic resource planning for this. Well, so far all really complex, I guess, and maybe also a little bit abstract. I will after this also quickly go into our case, then it will get a bit more tangible. But in our enterprise portfolio management solution is actually a very modular approach. It allows you to start small, with one portfolio, with few metrics, just to get started, to get easily started, but also very flexible to extend the approach later on. If you think, yes, I'm now getting the feeling of how I want to manage this and how I want to do this, then you can easily extend the approach you started with. And our solution is very, very configurable. So, independent of the goals you have as an organization, we can always tailor the approach towards these specific goals. We have a very flexible way of defining the data models. So, for example, the metrics that you want to use, you can define yourself. Of course, you can also use predefined data models from us. We have dashboards that you can create very easily and configurable to an organizational need. So, I just talked to you a bit more in detail about enterprise portfolio management. What is, what you can do with it, and what you should want to do with it. What I actually want to do is demonstrate what this now actually means. So I want to now get, I will do that by talking to you about a real case that we actually executed with a customer of us. And, I'll first talk to you a bit about the background of this case, and then after that I will actually show you how we implemented that using ArchiMate language, the extensions that ArchiMate offers you, and then how we extended this to a portfolio management approach. And this I will do with a live demo. I did this case actually for a large international health organization. We made an anonymized version of this client case, and this client actually is planning an enormous business transformation, and it involves really all the disciplines that we just talked about. So it involves the strategy management, it involves the architects, it involves the project portfolio managers, etc. And the contribution of business design in this specific case was especially on relating the disciplines and creating the more holistic overview on the transformation. So you're not of the details, what every project costed, what every program costed, but mainly on relating and strengthening the relation between the different disciplines. And what actually the background is of this organization we call Profit is that it is an organization that has geographically very spread locations. So they're basically pretty much everywhere. And this is the result of many mergers and takeovers they have. And I already feel where this is going. If you have a lot of mergers and takeovers, then your landscape, your enterprise landscape will look like a patchwork piece. And this is actually what they are running into. Their in the end is to become the leading provider of healthcare services in the world. This is their goal. To reach that goal, they definitely have to change several things. The way they need to change is on the one hand external. There are quite some large and upcoming competitors. Another reason that they need to change is that they have to really comply with strict and changing regulations, as you can imagine in healthcare. And this means that you need to be agile. You need to be able to adapt quickly to this changing environment you're living in. And the further they grew and the more additions of organizations they had, the more difficult they find it is to change. On the internal side, they have an enormous legacy landscape, especially on the application part. We also have a lot of heterogeneous processes, products and databases, and especially this is not nice for international customers who simply don't like to get two bits from the same organization that look different, and this is actually what is happening there. So one location is sending a bill with a certain heading, and the other organization is doing that with a slightly different heading. They have certain slight different processes in when you should pay and how you should pay, and all these heterogeneous processes are not very constructive for upscaling their business. So their biggest question is now, how are we going to do a successful transformation on this scale actually? So this is they're running into is that they, well, first of all, they need to do a strategic plan. Where are we? Where do we want to go? What are our goals? What is our mission? What is our vision? And then they have to somehow get from this plan to execution. And once they're executing, you actually need to monitor what you are executing. So all the projects you defined, all the programs you have running, are they actually being executed the way you planned? And since it is a changing world, there will always be changes on the way. Your environment changes, your internal infrastructure changes, and you need to be therefore also able to quickly adapt the plans you have. And this means you need an agile aspect to this. While you're busy doing this transformation, you still need to be up and running during this transformation. Now, so this is an enormous challenge you then have as an organization. And what you need to get rid of in this case are the different information silos across the disciplines. So how you need to get the disciplines talking to each other. The strategy department needs to talk to PMO, they need to talk to the architects, and they need to relate to each other. And they need to do that also quickly and seamlessly. So how does this organization now try to connect their strategy with the strategy plan with the execution? So they decided to make on top of the strategy management, they have a business capability map. And they actually identified several key business capabilities, and they set basing on the strategy. Key capabilities are the ones they identified as the ones they want to bring a step further. And each of these key business capabilities were decomposed further again in more specific capabilities. And in addition, they defined a project and program portfolio in which they defined programs that should realize the desired capability increments. And this was very smartly made a very tangible strategy with the business capability map they have, and every program was decomposed into projects. To get you a feeling for the magnitude of this business transformation, there were in the end 12 key capabilities defined, over 200 programs and over 5,000 projects. But after this planning phase, they did find some problems. There were a lot of project deliverables that were not aligned with the strategy. There were projects that all of a sudden seemed to have similar deliverables, contracting deliverables, programs that were defined but did not seem to have any relation with the strategic management they have. So it seems there was anyway a big gap between strategy management and the portfolio management they did. And they were also not really clear on what the effect is of the application rationalization, which is of course really scary. And where business design came in, we actually suggested to use the enterprise architecture as a solid model to make these decisions on, and to actually make the relation between your capabilities, your strategy and your programs. And to describe a clear as is and to be situation, which actually form the basis for analyzing the impact of the changes on the enterprise as a whole. And in this way you can actually ensure the alignment between your strategy and implementation in a consistent and flexible way. Actually used really well for them. And we used enterprise portfolio management actually to define different portfolios to actually start managing this large landscape. We had capability portfolios, product portfolios, etc., etc. And we made it possible to do some analysis across these portfolios and give the results in a nice dashboard. So what I'll do is I will show you part of the models that we made for the organization in our tool. And this will actually show you in a very tangible way how you can relate your architecture to your portfolio management process and to your strategy. So this organization started with defining what their mission, vision and strategy is. And this is also where you see at the moment the extension of using the goals and later on also the requirements. Model this and relate this vision to your architecture. So here you see represented becoming a lead provider of healthcare. And actually said, well, to realize this, we should go for, well, we should focus on product leadership the most, but we should also try to go for some operational excellence. So look at what this means actually for getting into product leadership. Here we are actually relating the different goals, and we are making them more and more specific. While we go down, we try to decompose them into more tangible goals, and in the end we're translating the goals into requirements that should be realized to actually reach the goals we have. For this to actually decide what the requirements are on your architecture and on your organization, you should simply first do an assessment of the current state of your organization. And for this, we define several metrics. These are the metrics we defined. This is just these are just a few. This is a subset for this model to actually show what we want to measure on our. It's like a thermometer. Where are we standing with our organization? And the metrics that were chosen were based on the capabilities that were defined. So what was the focus of the organization? What is the focus of the strategy? So what should be good? Where should be the thermometer green? And actually with several of these metrics there were several problems found. And this is where you see the assessments come in. And from these assessments you can actually decide what your change should look like. So just show you how this now relates to your architecture, this goal part, is to show you here, for example, one of the processes. I talked to you before about the billing process with customers. This was one of the problems they're having. So here actually the architecture. And if I use my color view, I can actually show you the current state as it is. So the baseline is that there are different services offered to the customer. Different processes and supported by different applications all over the world. At the end, what the organization wants to go towards is one service that shows one face to the customer, which we then supported also with one process, and is also then supported with one part of your application landscape. To realize this, they had to define a program. So this is one of the programs they defined to harness actually the billing process. And this program actually consists out of several projects that are defined within that program. So after you have seen what the problems are with your current architecture, you know where you want to go with your strategy, you know where your target architecture will be. You've defined on a high level the programs you need to execute to realize this. You actually get a holistic view on how this should look like. This is where you can make, well, this is actually part of the complete picture, but this is where we can actually relate the high level goals we have, the mission and vision of the organization, and relate the strategy actually directly to the targets. These are the targets, plateaus we have. There are several that we can choose from, and the programs that we need to execute to actually realize this plateau. And then see that these plateaus are actually realizing the different requirements that we defined, that are in turn again realizing the goals we have. You saw some numbers. This is where the quantifications come in. So you can set an importance to certain goals you're having. You can weigh them. This way, with going down through the tree, you can actually calculate the importance of every program to the strategy. So how much is a certain program actually contributing to the strategy? And this is one question that many CEOs and CIOs have. Which program is the important program? Which program should execute to actually realize the important strategy that I'm having? So this state where you have defined a lot of things, but you still have to manage it. And in this case, we are going to manage this in the portfolios. So far we've seen really ArchiMate. We've used only ArchiMate concepts, and now we are going to use this whole architecture that we modeled in ArchiMate, and we're going to manage that with our portfolio management approach. So in our BizDesign Architect tool, you can actually very easily create portfolios, group certain aspects together that you want to manage as a whole. In this case, I'm showing you the different application portfolios that we have made for this organization. We've made a back office, a front office, and a strategic application portfolio. And you can see it has simply a high-level description, which you can easily adapt if you want. We have some owner. Every portfolio is owned by somebody who's responsible for the effects. And these owners are also modeled in the architecture in ArchiMate and can be imported in the portfolios. Every portfolio is, of course, reaching some goals, some strategic goal, but might have also some smaller goals in itself. For example, in the back office, they would really like to eliminate the paper. And to manage your portfolios, you need to do some measuring about it. So you define several metrics that I talked to you about. And in this case, you want to manage that for costs, business value, technical value, and risks. Just to show you how you can very easily add a portfolio, you can add text, a description, and then maybe later on also add some metrics that choose, for example, well, here the cost selected, that add some costs. So if you do the portfolio, you still have to fill it. You of course have to talk to, you have to tell what you want to manage in this portfolio, and there you can add in all kinds of ways elements from your architecture. And in a way, for example, we can say managing the back office. And we have chosen the costs to manage in this portfolio. We can very easily make a nice chart, a nice dashboard showing these costs that we have just selected as a part of your portfolio. Well, there are of course many applications in the back office, so this is not to clean this up a bit. And let's say for this chart, okay, would like to apply a filter. To say I only want to see those those applications that have a higher total cost of ownership than 50,000 per year. So you can say that see that there are several. The financial solution, for example, has high costs, and so you can very easily jump back to where this comes from in your architecture, which is really nice, and which is where the architecture comes in. And many of the analyses we do are actually using the architecture, the underlying architecture. And you can make all kinds of portfolios with all kinds of charts, all kinds of overviews. Here there is, for example, an overview with all kinds of technical value, business value, etc. Now I showed you only the application portfolio, but for example we have also project portfolios, program portfolios, and you can make for this customer all kinds of nice overviews that they were very happy with. So I want to talk to you shortly about the metrics that we're using. I've mentioned them several times. We're actually using them as a specialization of the driver concept. We added some functionality to it, which allows you, here you see the metrics that we have simply added to this, where you can manage them and can relate them. You can aggregate different metrics. This is now quite a difficult story telling you, and well, should have a whole webinar itself to go on the details. But you can see something about how they are related. So here you see that business value is made up for this organization on a relation between the business fit, the number of dependencies it has with processes, and the number of users of a certain application in this case. You can see that for them the business fit is more important, has a value 3, and well, the other two are valued less. And you can very easily add or add some things, add an aggregation relation to each other. So this is a new functionality that we have, and which you can very easily and nicely define your metrics, have a description with the metric you want, and of course have an automated way of measuring them for the different values. Here we have all kinds of import scripts for Excel files, but we can do that for many things. Actually, the demonstration of the tool that I wanted to give to you was really short, I realized that, but yeah, well, offline I'm definitely happy to show you more if you want. The summary I want to give to you is that, well, actually you should not underestimate the gap between your strategy development and execution. This is really what this organization ran into and what we see much more often. Architecture definitely helps you to close this gap and to ensure the alignment, and your enterprise portfolio management will allow you to actually, well, get everything together again. And the powerful combination that we have there, is simply great. We as Design can help you with many things, and I just showed you our architecture tool, Design, but we also other tools, and we really have an integrated tool suite where you are actually able to read different models with each other, and are able to integrate this all in one repository and move easily from model to model. It's easy to use, and we have from also an enterprise portfolio management module to extend the ArchiMate offering we have. So we have all kinds of integrated consultancy where we can do workshops, consultancy service, and really make your enterprise architecture or portfolio management initiative get a kickstart. And of course, able to implement TOGAF, ArchiMate, but also BPMN for you. We give all kinds of trainings, for example, on enterprise portfolio management, how to get started, how to use the tool that we have, especially on the metrics. If you want to use it, a training is very helpful. But of course, we also give ArchiMate an architect training in the ArchiMate language. We use the same tool that I just showed you, Design Architect, with it. And we, of course, are accredited by the Open Group to give the training, and it includes also an ArchiMate certification and name holds for the TOGAF trainings that we provide. Comes at the end of my presentation. I realized that I came across with a lot of information, and well, please take the time to read back, for example, on the Open Group website, the downloadable versions of the full specifications of ArchiMate and TOGAF. There are also many white papers on this topic, and of course the recorded webinars. If you want to learn a bit more about enterprise portfolio management, we have a blog series on that on our website. We have also a white paper which you can download, as you can see from the URL. Some general information on Design you see on the left top, and we have several blog series in general. Feel free to check them out, and you can get some info. I think that brings me to the end of the presentation, and I hope we still have some time left for answering some questions. Simon?
Diana, that's excellent. We've got a couple of minutes. We are getting close to the hour. Yes, let's go over a few questions. First of all, Diana, can you just clarify the relationship between the tool you demonstrated, ArchiMate and TOGAF?
Well, in the tool that I just demonstrated, this is our architect, Design Architect tool, and well, actually the whole basis for this tool is the ArchiMate language. So the relation with ArchiMate is that pretty much every concept we use in there is an ArchiMate concept. Did not show you TOGAF here because, well, this is a modeling tool and TOGAF is on the process side. So we definitely support the process of TOGAF, but not within this tool. And well, the portfolio management part you saw in here is actually purely based on the architecture and on the ArchiMate language underlying. And the portfolios you saw are actually, well, as with everything in ArchiMate, are simply a view on your architectural model. And this is what I find personally also the beauty of the implementation. This way we can stay, well, pretty much pure ArchiMate within our tool.
Thanks. We'll do a couple of questions before we end. A question from Andrew asks, can Design Architect federate with external data sources for portfolio data? And he says CMDB, PM repository, etc.
That is a very good question. So required CMDB, that is currently we don't support that, but that definitely will be supported next year. So this is on our wish list. At the moment, we do have an integration with several databases. It's quite easily actually to import from all of data sources, but the CMDB is definitely still on my wish list.
The next question, we better make the last one. This is from Brian. ArchiMate works well with TOGAF. Do you think it can also work with managing successful programs? What's on that, Liana?
Well, I also really like that question because program portfolio management is well, in my opinion, a very important aspect, but it's really on the management side. With ArchiMate and TOGAF, we're really on the modeling side and preparing the business transformations, and we're not as well managing them. We're more designing them. And with the portfolio management approach we are now presenting, we're trying to stretch that, or at least relate closely to also the management of the actual execution of the programs. But I do think that there are excellent tools that are able to manage actually the program while they are running and executing. So personally, I would love to leave the ArchiMate language and the TOGAF language at the design phase, reading and stretching it a bit to the management part, but I would rather like the real project portfolio tools to do the management of the execution of the programs. So there I see the cut between the real true project portfolio management tools and enterprise portfolio management tools as we offer them.
That's great. And as I said, we've reached the hour. We do have some questions online, but I think I'll take those offline and share those with you, and we can address those after the event. Liana, I'd like to thank you for today's time. Do you have any final points you'd like to make before I close the event?
No, well, I really enjoyed giving the presentation, and I'm more than happy to answer any offline questions. So thank you, Simon, for hosting this. This is great.
That's it, and thank you everyone for attending today, and please do keep an eye on the Open Group's website for future webinars over the next coming months. So thank you everyone, and I'll end today's event. Thank you.